Please welcome Mrs. Brandy Woods-Smith.
I was 28 years old, and I was sitting in my car in a small town in East Texas. You know, the kind of town that only has one stoplight and one gas station? I was sitting in that car asking myself one of the most serious questions. How did you get here? You see, I was so far off from my dreams, it was almost comical. That day, I didn't even know what I was going to do next. I could remember leaving my mother-in-law's house a few days before. I had got up that morning and took a shower, and I grabbed my baby's bag and some snacks because we love to picnic in the park, and I got in my car, and I began to drive and drive and drive. And I can remember us getting out of the car and playing at the park, and I remembered us going to a library in a town to this day. I can't remember its name. And I remember singing songs with my baby to keep her busy, but somehow, 3 days later, we were still in that car. See, I wasn't in that car because I wanted to be. I was in that car because it had become my home. Somewhere in those 3 days, I had decided to leave one of the most destructive and toxic situations of my life. I was looking at myself in the rearview mirror, homeless, with less than $12 to my name. I was jobless, and I had my baby in the back seat and a baby in the belly. This was my rock bottom moment. Now I see you looking at me, and I see you thinking, oh my God, what happened to her? What statistic does she fall in? I bet she comes from a broken home. Stop. Remember, we listen and we don't judge. You see, if you think about my childhood, it was actually the opposite of what you're probably thinking. I came from a home with loving parents, 2 loving parents. I had play dates with my cousins. I went to my grandmother's on Sunday where she told you, make that plate, but make sure you're going to eat everything you put on it. I was our high school mascot. I even had the opportunity to get a full academic scholarship to a HBCU where I was able to pledge Alpha Kappa Alpha Incorporated. I did everything people told you to do. You know the formula to the world's success. Go to school, get a good job, marry your high school or college sweetheart, have 2 kids and a dog. I did everything they told me to do in that order. But that did not stop life from lifing. That did not disqualify me from hitting my rock bottom moment. Now, I just want you to take a moment because your rock bottom moment may be different from mine. Maybe your rock bottom moment was losing your job suddenly, or maybe the betrayal of a good friend. Maybe your rock bottom came with a foreclosure or a repossession. Or maybe you suffered the hand of abuse. I don't know what your rock bottom moment is, but we've all had them. And somewhere, someone told us, avoid these moments at all costs. But I come to tell you today, maybe we should subscribe to a different train of thought. Maybe those rock bottom moments were meant to bring us to a higher version of ourselves. Maybe instead of stumbling blocks in the valley of rock bottom, we can find stepping stones. Maybe those moments are the moments that teach us resilience and fortitude to get us to the higher version of ourselves. Now, I know that those moments are hard. I want to take a moment and say that I'm proud of you for being here today. Because sometimes in those rock bottom moments, we don't know how we're going to make it, or even if we want to. In my rock bottom moments, I learned 3 things, 3 phases that were instrumental to getting me out of that place to where I wanted to be, literally crying and clawing back up to the mountaintop. The first phase for me was release. Now, I know there are some TV watchers out there, and you may have seen the show A Different World, and one of my favorite characters would say, relax, relate, release. Now, this is a little different. Mine is release, realize, restore. You can say it. Release, realize, restore. See, the first thing I had to release was my ego. Why did I stay in that car 3 days? I had parents who loved me, who would have been devastated by my choice of staying in that car. I had to release my ego and ask for help. As a matter of fact, when I went home, my parents didn't say anything to me because they suspected something was wrong. One day, my dad knocked on the door and peeked in the room and said, "Do you live here now?" I said, "Yeah, I do." He said, "Okay, let me know if you need to do anything." You see, as an Army veteran, he was ready to act. I also had to release what my life could have been, to realize what my life was going to be. I had to step out of that box. And I had to release the pain of my own mistakes, realizing that those mistakes did not determine my future, but I could use them as stepping stones. My second phase was realize. I had to realize that I was still a bad girl. I still had tools in my toolbox that I could use. One of the things that I realized is that all of these moments that got me here had let me earn a degree that only life could give. And that was my MBA, my major bounce back ability. You see, what I had learned getting my master's and learned getting my bachelor's, I didn't learn these things like fortitude, forgiveness, stick-with-itness, and the belief in myself that I can get back up again and again. That major bounce back ability took me through the final phase, which was restore. Restoration is your final stage when you're making a comeback. I had to restore the confidence in myself that I could make good decisions. I had to restore my professionalism and go back and reclaim what was mine. I also had to restore my relationship with God, which gave me the faith to move on, even though I was hurting. See, these 3 phases, release, realize, and restore, were so simple, but so instrumental in me taking that rock bottom moment. If we can take that rock bottom moment and rechannel the energy, if we can reframe the story that we're telling ourselves, if we could take each one of those blocks, each one of those rocks, and build a better future, we can truly help someone. Now, I want you to think about your own rocks. Those hard moments that you've had. I bet that they've made you a better person. But have you used them to the best of your ability? Now, I wouldn't be a good storyteller if I didn't tell you the end of my story. And I know some of you are a little nosy and you want to know how it ends. I took those rocks to rebuild myself. I took those rocks to take that $12 to build a company that has made over $25 million in the last 7 years. I took those rocks to rebuild my family. Now I have 6 beautiful children and 3 grandchildren. I took those rocks to restore relationships, and now I'm married to the most supportive man that I've ever met. I took those rocks to rebuild my confidence. So now when I look in the rearview mirror, I see a person that I'm proud of. So you today, the rocks you have in your pocket, you have a decision. Will you keep laying on them and remembering the hard moments? Or will you use those blocks to build a brighter future, a more resilient version of yourself, a higher version of yourself? Not that they will be stumbling blocks, but those rocks will be stepping stones into your great future. Thank you.
That was Mrs. Brandy Woods-Smith.